Ko tēnā koutou katoa, ko Libby Hakaraia tōku ingoa, he uri ahau no Ngāti Kapu, ki Ōtaki, Ngāti Raukawa hoki. So I'm Libby Hakaraia. I'm the Tumu Whakarai, which is the Managing Director of Māoriland Charitable Trust. And I'm from a North Island tribe called Ngāti Raukawa, and we reside in the beautiful beachside West Coast community of Ōtaki, which is just an hour from Wellington, the capital city. So I'm beaming in today. We call ourselves sunny Ōtaki, and it is a really beautiful sunny day here at the beach. So tēnā koutou katoa. I began a career in broadcasting back when I was a 17-year-old fresh out of school. And I took up one of the last cadetships that they were offering at that time in radio. So I started in radio, gravitated to television as a long-form documentary maker, traveled the world as a journalist, and I had ambitions to be a war correspondent. So I was very keen on Asia at the time, and working in Australia for the ABC. And one of the things that you had to do back in those times was actually forfeit your New Zealand passport. And so, you know, as a 21-year-old, I was really faced with the possibility of giving up, ceding my, what we call sovereignty, as a, not just a New Zealander, but as a Māori New Zealander. So we call ourselves, and we are Indigenous people of this land. And that really sort of set me into thinking, what was my purpose? And I'd grown up around, very much around the stories of our people, and very much with the sovereignty fight back then in New Zealand, which is continuing today. And so really I made the decision then that as much as I wanted to have this glorious life, you know, as a citizen of the world, my focus will always be around our tribal effort. So that's kind of in a nutshell what propelled me into the next phase of my life, which was documentary and then filmmaking. And so as a filmmaker, or, you know, starting that journey as a filmmaker, I started to travel overseas with films and to the A festivals. And not that my films were in the A festivals necessarily, but in that orbit, if you like. And it was at that point that I came in contact with the wider Indigenous cinema circle. We have very, very similar stories, but also, you know, a passion and a love for having those stories seen as widely as possible. And so this global cinema circle extends right up to the Arctic. And we were quite happy just to go as filmmakers, flying the flag from, you know, from Māori storytellers. And then about 9-10 years ago, they actually challenged us, myself, Maddie, my husband Tainui Stevens, who's a producer, film producer, a feature film producer, to start our own film festival, to start our own Indigenous film festival. And so 9 years ago, we launched Māoriland Film Festival, and we somewhat modelled it on the story of how Sundance came to be. You know, Sundance being its community-driven focus. And so today here in Ōtaki, 6,000 people, we invite the world to us. And pre the COVID disruption of 2020, we were, you know, we were doubling our population every year at our festival. And, you know, we were bringing stories from the Inuit people, games from all over the world, and a lot of these hadn't been seen, and it really piqued the interest, not just of us as you know, filmmakers, but of our young people. Our strategy is all around their capability and building social capital, and making that social capital Māori, you know, giving it a brown face, a brown lens, and thinking as Māori, and not being, you know, pushed around in that space. And so, you know, we've built the Māoriland Tech Creative Hub, which is Māoriland Tech Creative Hub. We're now the biggest Indigenous film festival in the Southern Hemisphere. And you know, there's a lot of interest. We've just opened our submissions for the festival, and they are, you know, off the chain. The amount of content that's been made is so exciting around the world, especially in these COVID times. I think that's the thing about Indigenous people, is we're used to having to work around problems or disruption, or a lot of people saying we can't do it. That fuels us to show them that we can. So just in where we stand today as Māoriland, you know, we're aware and a part of, and really keen to make our little part of Aotearoa, you know, to uplift and amplify the talents that we're seeing coming through the Māoriland door. That's a very good question. I mean, my younger self didn't see any of what we're seeing now. We like to say that the first flickering light of cinema was the moment when humankind discovered, fire. And so, we've sat around campfires, all of us, the whole of humanity has sat around campfires and told stories. And that the map of our world down here and so many other Indigenous people's worlds are told in the sky, in the night sky. I would have told my younger self to be more assured of that voice. It was a different time. It was a different space. There was a lot of, and there still exists, a covert racism, but this one was more polarized and in your face. And as a journalist, I was aware of that. I think I would have told my younger self to, step away from the mainstream media and to try and create and be more skillful as a storyteller back then. Having said that, this is the wonderful thing about being in a creative house now called Māoriland, is we operate very much on a system that is non-hierarchical. As the tuakana, the elder, I have things that I can pass on, but that doesn't make me make me more or come with an arrogance, because the younger can teach me something that I never even fathomed. And that's technology right now, but it's also thinking. It's a thinking. When I think about coming up through the mainstream, through the then mainstream broadcasting system, I didn't see that model. I didn't see that thinking, and it was very male led. So I would say to my younger sister, my younger self, well done for keeping those stories safe. Now is the time to find ways to tell those stories as a community.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.